Hey everyone, I'm Lewis.
Hi, I'm Jack.
Welcome to Metaphysics of Fiction.
Yeah, so this is basically just me and Lewis. We're just going to be talking about movies and the meta behind it, basically.
Well, not just movies, we will also be talking about all forms of fictional medium from TV series to comics as well.
Yeah, so that'll be really fun when we get to those. So quick, I guess explanation. So if we go to meta, so something that is meta is like meta thought or metaphysics is meta thought is just thinking about thinking. And metaphysics is the fundamental nature of reality and the relationships between things like the mind and matter and things like that. So meta is really just kind of a self-reference to itself, and that kind of makes sense. If you think about like meta in League of Legends, the meta in League of Legends is the composition that is just better than all other compositions. Um, and metafiction is actually a genre of fiction. It's kind of like a self-referential genre, but in this instance, metafiction is talking about the meta narratives that are sort of going on behind the scenes. It's talking about the components that make up the medium uh, and things like that. And today we're going to talk about Treasure Planet.
So
So, do
just
you
give
want
me
to talk about anything first?
Well, when it comes to Treasure Planet, which is also based off the novel Treasure Island, good on you, Disney, another one of your ripoffs. The main character we follow during our Treasure Planet is Jim Hawkins. And to me, it's quite obvious that an overarching theme of Treasure Planet is the idea of fatherhood in a way. But it's pretty much how a boy would learn how to be a man or learn his idea of being a man by watching a father figure, namely a person's actual father. They're always there. They're the first person a son would look to learn how you should be acting, how to be strong, how essentially how to be a man. What Treasure Planet would do, what Treasure Planet does, is it actually shows what could happen if a father isn't in a son's life and the son is left directionless. But he starts finding or seeing father figures in other people, like friends of the family, a person he just met, an authority figure in a way.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. Like I always this movie to me seems like it's just asking the question of who is Jim's father, who is Jim's dad, but not like in the sense uh, of in the context of the story. Who's the guy who just leaves, um, who leaves Jim and leaves the mother? No, but like is
who
who is inserting themselves in that role, because there has to be someone in that parental role. Like even if you look at stories that involve orphans, for example, they will see maybe an older brother as the father figure. They will see maybe just someone they interact with as a parental figure, right? And so the question the movie is asking a lot of times is, well, who is Jim's dad? Who is Jim's dad right now?
who
And
has
what are they
earned
doing?
the
What are they
right?
providing?
Who is Jim trying to emulate? Who has earned the right to be called Jim's dad?
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't say emulate, but like yeah. But who is earning that right to be Jim's dad? Like and what are the qualities that make them earn that right?
In my opinion, you get a few of the roles done by a couple of the characters, including, ironically, in some fashion, the mother in a way, because she is trying to take the position of both forms of a carer, like single mothers usually would. They're trying to be the mother and the father. It's something hard, but it's something they have to do. She's trying to set his path on something. She's trying to um, she's trying to make sure trying to she's trying to make sure he can be all he can be when he's still being a bit of a ruffian, and it's hard for him.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
she's she. Jim's mum is basically trying to do a balancing act where she wants to be there. She wants to be a carer for him, but she also needs to be that authority figure, and it doesn't exactly pan out very well. And you can see that in that scene where Jim is just left off by the police robots, and she's like, "Oh, what do you want? Do you want to go to juvenile hall? Is that what you want?" And then he starts to give her the story, and she just looks disappointed. And then Jim just disengages from that. If you can replace John Silva in that scene, and the second Jim starts to explain it, he would just be back. He's like, "No, you were in the wrong here. You've done the wrong thing here." He would be that kind of force there, but she's trying to be that force, but also be caring for Jim, and it's a very difficult place to be.
Another person to pick out as a competitor for Jim's father to emulate would definitely be the Dr. Doppler, played by David Hyde Pierce. He's trying to be the person that could be there for Jim, but doesn't exactly understand him on some level because they are two completely different people. Like,
he's basically the weak father.
Yeah,
Doppler he's just a weak father. He's a weak man, right? So like, he can, being the astrophysicist and being like probably the most intelligent person in the movie, he can probably understand everything, and he tries to engage with he tries to engage with even the police robots when they come in to hand over Jim, and he just doesn't know how to correctly socialize with the entire situation, because usually what he does is he's recluse, he's alone, he's by himself, he's this contained person essentially.
Yeah, he's a guy that would sit at he's most comfortable sitting at his desk in his study surrounded by books. He doesn't know how to interact with people. That's why you notice that a lot during the movie when they're on the ship, like when he's trying to take a picture of the space whales, and he gets pretty much shot at with a whole bunch of space snot.
Yeah, and like I bet he knows everything there is to know about that space whale, but and it's the captain who sort of points out, it's just like, listen, you don't want to be that close. You get blasted. And actually, like, speaking of the captain, she's kind of the opposite. So if Doppler is a perfectly intelligent creature, if Doppler is the intelligent father, the intelligent and weak father, then she is the strong but distant father, I would say. Like, she has a lot of savvy. She knows what to do in a lot of situations just by her experience as a captain.
Yeah, and you can also tell she is distant because she's not exactly trying to form an emotional bond. To her, Jim is just another sailor that she wants to, like, she knows that he's inexperienced, so she just kind of puts him to work, trying to puts him in the situation, and then he just. Yeah, it's pretty much like that. He's
just an employee. He's just a ruffian that she needs to straighten out, right? There's no connection there that she has, despite, like, she has probably a lot of the qualities of a good parent. Yeah, but she's missing that one factor, which is the relationship.
Yeah, and you also can probably see that how she kind of also, in a way, has like a relationship with Mr. Arrow, because he's a very good employee. He's straight. He's to the point. He's her second in command.
Because he's Mr. Arrow. They're so on the nose sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he's straight as an arrow.
Yeah, he's straight as an arrow. You know, he's a straight shooter. He doesn't kid around. He gets to the point. Like,
that could also, Mr. Arrow could also be used as another form of example in a way of favoritism when it comes to fatherhood. He's her favorite, and Jim is just the no good.
Yeah, like she's only interested if the person is acting accordingly. She's only interested in you if you are this kind of pure individual.
Indeed.
If you are as straight as an arrow. But if you're Jim, if you have some trouble and
Yeah, if you're
you have
a little all over the place.
yeah, if you're a little all over the place, if you if you're a bit misguided, then you're not as interesting to her. You're just sort of a problem that requires fixing. And that's kind of the same way that the robots view Jim as well, and because they're another father figure in this movie.
Yeah, the authoritarian, the unfeeling authoritarian.
I think the robots actually, I think it's really smart that that for a kind of governmental authority, they've used robots in this case. And it's really funny. So I was watching this movie with two of our other friends, Josh and Paolo, and Josh actually pointed out that these aren't the only robots in this movie aside from these robots and Ben. There's also one more robot. He's a window washer at the starport. That's it. These are the only robots in the movie. They're so sparsed out. But with these ones, with the police robots, it's very mechanical what they are. Like they are a proper authority for Jim, right? Because they're willing to put some kind of punishment to Jim's actions. They're willing to put some kind of responsibility on him. But that responsibility is completely one-sided. There's no give and take. There's no relationship there.
Definitely, that's the definite. Like it's not just a matter of distance. It's just unfeeling. He's just another thing. I will take care of this. We'll do what is our programming, and then we'll just leave it.
Yeah, he's a bad choicer. He's a dead ender. He's
they
like,
pawn him off.
They say
they pawn him off on the mother. It's pretty much saying, "Look, I'm going to spank you, but then you're your mother's problem."
Yeah. Also, like they have no they don't even care to be a part of the family dynamic, which is a very real thing as well.
Yeah, that's a sad fact.
They step in, they give some kind of punishment, but then they just give it back to the family and step out of the picture.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely no way to actually raise a child. They need all forms of affection.
Yeah, well, I think it's a strong argument why the government can't step in as a kind of parental figure. It's very difficult for them because a structure like that is just incapable of providing that kind of relationship on an individual level. Like they have to go collective.
Definitely,
because they're trying to provide for everyone. And then we have John Silva.
Yep, the one we've been pretty much just been beating around the bush. Everyone knows we were going to make our way here, and now here we are. Long John Silva, our main father figure in this case, the one that Jim responds to, because he actually can relate to each other. Because you can tell the two of them have kind of would run in the same circles. They probably had a hard life. They're a bit on the ruffian side. They've probably been on the wrong side of the law. And so people just look to them and see good for nothing. So they're able to actually make some form of a connection.
Yeah, the imagery of John Silva is actually really great as well because John Silva is a cyborg, right? So what does John Silva have? He has on the right-hand side, he has his basically the robot, the authority, the strength that comes behind
being authoritarian,
that is required for being a father, right? And then on the left-hand side, see, I researched this. So he's actually a bear. He's part bear, part cyborg, right? But when I was watching the movie, I kept thinking that he was some kind of dog, like Dr. Doppler, because that's the other side of him. That it is that caring and emotional side of him that he has with Morph as well, and he shows it with Morph like throughout the movie, and eventually starts sharing it with Jim. Yeah, Morph is so good as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's that little puppy we all want.
Yeah, exactly. But like, it's really great because Disney movies, I don't know why they do it, but I feel like a lot of the times they just insert these kind of small creatures that hang around the protagonist, and they represent something about the protagonist. So, you know, you have Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. You have John Silva and Morph. You have
Ariel and Sebastian.
Ariel and Sebastian, right? Exactly. You have a whole bunch of these films where one of the main characters is accompanied by this small little creature. Oh, and you have Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket, and like these small creatures always represent something about those characters, and I love it. It's brilliant storytelling.
Yeah, back to Silva though. You almost got a bit sidetracked there about Silva, but yeah, I think also using the idea of a bear and a dog with the two. See, a dog you would see is more associated with the idea of companionship, like the friends you always need. But bears are usually used as a form of affection in a family situation. They've always been, despite the fact I wouldn't actually want to be stuck in a bear's home. Bears, you get the idea of a bear hug. You have the nicknames Mama Bear and Papa Bear, and they usually to signify a big warm presence, an idea of a happy parentage in a way. So it is actually a good idea to use that alongside the authoritarian machine form when developing this idea of a character, a warm and approachable man, but that still has a firm authoritarian hand. And you get that with Silva, because he's not just being his father, he's also being his boss, his teacher. He's pretty much teaching him what Silva learned, what it meant to be a man.
Like whenever I look at John, and like with the bear specifically, I think I move away from a kind of familial relational bond, and I think of it more as a kind of adversarial kind of thing, because I think that a good father is someone that you're actually constantly you're in some kind of fight against. Right? So it's usually relegated to a mothering position, to be the carer, to for the compassionate, for the kind of emotional safety, let's say. And then when it comes to the father, that's more about the security. But a lot of the times you're fighting with your father, because your father is trying to impose some kind of rule, some kind of way that you should live your life, and you're usually at odds with this. And like I love it in those scenes immediately after he gets after the captain is just like, go deal with your child, essentially. And he's running around the ship, and he goes, all right, I got two new friends for you, Mr. Mop and Mrs. Bucket.
Oh, I love that part. And frankly, I believe you're right. There's some aspects, like even with my dad, that I can actually attest to that. And also, for all you listeners, for my day job, my dad's also my boss. So, it's not a good combination.
But it's that adversarial nature that allows Jim to grow, right? It's like, especially, okay, so during like the music montage where they're going through all the different scenes. One of the scenes is so Jim's scrubbing pots and pans. And then John comes in. He just gives him more pots and pans. And then he looks at him and he's like, God, this guy, I swear to God. And he just scrubs them even harder. He just starts going at it even more. This adversarial kind of motivation comes out. And it forces him to complete the job, because he's like, screw this guy. I'm gonna fine, I'll do it. And I'll do a great job of it.
I think adversarial is probably a bit too strong of a word. More of like challenger type of situation. Like, because adversarial kind of makes it sound like your dad's the enemy. Like he's meant to there. Dad's always there to teach, but also to challenge. Because your dad isn't gonna hold on to your bike the entire time when you're taking the training wheels off. He's gonna let go, and you're gonna have to figure it out. And you definitely get that with Silva. Like, he's gonna teach you, but he's gonna make you do it. You actually see that also within the same montage when he's doing the but he's teaching him how to use the rope, to tie the rope. He ties it and immediately expects him to do it. And you kind of see that Silva has this arrogant face, thinking, "Yeah, I did that. It took me God knows how long to manage to get it like that on my very first try. Let's see what happens when you do it." And then Jim's just already walking off, showing that he can do this, and he did it almost immediately. So that also shows that Silva is impressed that the kid's rising up to the challenge as well. And
John does the one thing that no other character has done up to that point, which is recognize his ability.
Yeah.
He recognizes, oh, wait, Jim already knows how to do this. Let's try and do something more complicated. Let's take him out on the boat.
Mm-hmm. And that is absolutely one of the most beautiful parts of the scene. You can tell they're actually bonding. They're finding the common ground, and even though Silva will continue to challenge him, he's actually learning that he likes the boy. He's actually learning he likes Jim, and you can also see some form of that when basically his figurative mask comes off and it reveals that Silva's actually a pirate. Spoilers. And
spoilers from 2002 or something.
Hey, you don't know who's watching. We can have.
Well, they should watch this movie.
Yes, if you haven't seen this movie, but for some reason you're tuning into this podcast first episode about this movie, spoiler.
Yeah, go watch it. Spoiler: he's a pirate, and they go to Treasure Planet.
You can also see kind of like Silva is also defending Jim, even if it's subtle, from that crab pirate. He pulls out as some actual crab crackers from his interchangeable hand and just starts cracking his claw because he started saying he's gone soft about the kid. He's defending who he is, but he's also defending Jim at the same time because he likes the kid, and he thinks that he probably is thinking that this kid could actually be a part of our crew if you don't be an asshole about it. Probably should leave that. We haven't actually discussed if we should be allowed to swear in this. I don't know. We're Aussie. We swear a lot.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's a good observation.
That we swear a lot.
No, not that. That John definitely fulfills that kind of role of a protector. He sees something in Jim, and I think the movie wants us to think that he sees something of himself in Jim. Yeah. I think that's definitely shown more towards the end of the movie.
It's also kind of shown throughout the movie through the artwork, actually, in my opinion, because even though throughout the movie, you can notice all this different forms of color schemes. With Silva and Jim, their clothing kind of has a similar scheme: the white undershirt with the dark jacket. But then there's other schemes with the other figures. Like the captain and Arrow have the colored vests, the blue and the red one. Doppler has more of a white shirt situation, maybe like a light brown vest. That shows a form of similarity, but the more of the white shows he's probably more for one side. You got the full blue from the machines. So they're already showing that these two are going to be connected, that these two have similar, because they're kind of almost designed, the colors designed the same way, they're almost cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all speculative because we don't know about John's past. But the only thing we actually know about John's past is that he kind of, it's probably implied that he has either unwillingly lost his limbs or have willingly given up his limbs in order to attain the cyborg body so that he can better chase after this treasure planet. And it sort of comes as a warning, as a little bit of something you can only learn through living your life. Just be sometimes plans don't go as planned. Sometimes you're willing to give up a lot for a dream.
Mm. Yeah, he pretty much gave up half his body, and that's also another lesson that I think that was also another lesson he gave Jim, that sometimes life's just gonna hit you hard.
Yeah, and like, or especially, even if it's, well, Jim doesn't know that it's not his fault at that time, but John does, especially after the scene where all the lifelines are checked and Arrows has been cut, has been unsecured.
And the spoilers.
Yeah, not more spoilers. And Jim is basically where every kid who is in that situation, not in that situation specifically, but in a situation of, they've always been sort of looked at as that kind of troublemaker, or that,
the screw
that kid
up.
that does the screw up, the one that doesn't do anything right. And Jim just comes out and it's just like, I had my chance. This was my chance to do something right for once, and I failed. I couldn't do it. And John has to come in, and he doesn't. And he initially comes in and he tries to reassure him, kind of like a mother, where it's like, it wasn't your fault. You couldn't predict this. It's okay. And then he goes, no, listen here, right? Things are gonna go bad, but you know what's gonna happen when things are gonna be good? I'm gonna wish I'm gonna be there. You're gonna glow like the sun, and I want to catch some of those rays when you eventually get this right.
Yep, you've got the makings of greatness in you. And this is probably, when it comes to fatherhood, this is probably the most important job. You got to be the encourager, you got to be the motivational speaker. Like, a mother, I mean, I'm not trying to be like biased or anything right now.
No,
like,
we're talking about archetypes. Yeah. So, like, obviously, just for a bit of a disclaimer, men and females can do the opposite jobs and exhibit the opposite archetype. Take me, I am actually a very feminine man. I've actually been told this with kids in my classroom, like, so you're really feminine. I'm like, yes, thank you.
Oh yeah, and a little bit of context, he actually teaches at an all-girls school.
Oh no, I don't teach at an all-girls school right now. I teach at a Coptic Orthodox school. It's very fun.
There you go. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is, a mother, if you're talking about your archetypes, mother would usually be in a caring role, would be like a pillow, soften your blow when you're falling. With a father, they would be trying, like we said before, they would give you the challenge. And when you feel ready, like you want to quit the challenge, the most important thing a father would do, instead of laughing at the child or calling him a quitter or making him feel bad when he's down, when this challenge gets too hard and the child ends up on the ground, they pick him up and they put him back on it and say, I know you can do this. You've got something and you can make the most of it. They encourage you. They are there to encourage, not only to give the challenge, but to convince the person that they can actually do it.
Right. Replace John with any of the other father figures in that scene, right? If you take Doppler, he'll just go, well, maybe this just isn't for you. Maybe we should call it a day and find something else, Jim. Right?
Yeah, and then if you
put the captain, put the captain in, it's just like, well, yeah, you did mess up, you did fuck up. Do well next time.
Actually, no. Actually, in this situation, like we talked about earlier, there was a sense of favoritism between Arrow and Jim. So this would probably be the dad that would go, it's your fault he's there. It's your fault he's dead. It should have been you. It should have been you.
No, I don't think she's like that.
She wouldn't be that bad, but she would probably kind of put some of the blame on him. It's like, shape up, do better, or this is going to keep happening, and it will be your fault.
Yeah,
she wouldn't make it feel good.
Yeah.
She would really make it feel. She would make it feel worse than he's already feeling. Because, especially, don't get me wrong, there are some people out there who would be in this situation and really, not like we said earlier, not this situation directly, where they could fuck up immensely and not give a rat's ass. Yeah. So sometimes you need the captain because they're going to need that kick in the ass. But Jim, in this situation, he felt like this was his moment to prove himself. It went bad, so he really wouldn't have needed that. He really needed some encouragement to try again.
Yeah. And then like and we kind of have like the final resolution of that where at the very end they're trying to escape Treasure Planet. And Jim has this idea. He has this plan on how they're going to get off. And instead of questioning, okay, what are you trying to do, Jim? Or what's your plan, Jim? Or Jim, stop that. Help me with my plan. It's what do you need, Jim? And he's like, I need this attached, and he just gets it attached. And then Jim explains his plan to John, and it's okay. I trust you now. It's okay. It's okay. I trust you. You are going to chart your own course right now. You are going to go for it.
Yeah, the ultimate, the belief. Yep, the trust and belief a father can actually have in his child and his son.
And you can tell that because like the captain and Doppler both hesitate at this idea. He's like, I'm going to change the portal. I'm going to go, turn the ship around and go. And they're just like, okay.
We're all going to die.
This is nuts, but all right, fine.
Yeah, but Silva, he didn't even flinch. He was like, yeah, let's go. Listen to the boy. I know he can do this.
Yeah, I believe that he's capable of this. I believe that he is going to succeed.
Yeah. We also can see like a form of Silva's belief in Jim in the moment in Treasure Planet when they're actually in the treasure room. And Silva has to make a choice. He's trying to save the treasure, and he's also trying to save Jim. There we have actually discovered that he definitely has a soft spot for Jim. He actually cares about Jim. So that's no longer a question. He wants to protect the kid, but he's also now torn between Jim and the treasure. This part I also kind of find clever. You can tell his metallic part, his cyborg arm, is what's holding onto the treasure, and he's reaching for Jim with his organic part. His unfeeling part is holding to gold and material wealth, and his actual bare, warm self is reaching for Jim. And he finally makes a choice. He lets go of the treasure. He actually chooses Jim over the treasure. And then he actually goes to my favorite line. It's a lifelong obsession. I'll get over it.
Yeah, I'll get a new one. I'll find a new one.
Yeah, he's already kind of found a new one. He's obsessed with Jim's success.
Yeah. And I don't know. I haven't thought about this because it only just came to me just now. But there might be something there to say that sometimes the father needs to be willing to sacrifice something really important to them for the kid. Yeah, and that's the thing that's going to save their life essentially. In some sense. And that idea of sacrifice is definitely heavy in the father archetype. It's very
what a dad's willing to give up for the child.
Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely would be a symbol of a strong father, but it also depends on what he's willing to give up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not calling any dads out.
Yeah, well, I mean, if your dad doesn't jump off a bridge for you, it doesn't mean they don't love you.
Jeez, I feel like I'm just scared of everybody. Don't hurt me. All right, I think it's time we start wrapping this up.
Yeah. All right, well, that was a nice conversation. So that was the end. This is Metaphysics and Fiction.
Thank you all for listening. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please give us a like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below of what you thought or any form of criticism either. This is our very first episode, so we are willing to learn. You can find us on both Facebook and Instagram under the Metaphysics of Fiction, or you can even find us on just about wherever you can get your podcasts connected to Anchor. Thank you for listening. Tune in to us next time where we will be discussing the movie Kong Skull Island. And we'll see if we can do a bit of a deep dive on a big ass monster movie. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.